emotions. That's what this video's on. Yeah, I just, you know what, it's quite really funny is I started recording this video and I think to myself, I go, hey, why don't I just think about it for a minute, what I'm going to say properly, like with the other videos, but then I'm like, oh, I'm going to spend 20 minutes thinking about it and stuff like that. So again, it's just, I have a topic, go with it, roll with it, let your thoughts kind of, I don't know, come out as they will, rather than trying to be specific. Again, that's the whole purpose of this. So, emotions, generally my opinion on them, and obviously why they are so important. Everyone realizes how hugely important they are. Some people are very emotional, in a good way, and sometimes in a bad way. And sometimes they let the emotions control them, and it's obviously, I think generally we're kind of quite fearful of our emotions. I mean, life is just a kind of an emotional battle, we have these ups and downs and stuff like that, and sometimes we have a fear of certain emotions, I don't know, like anger or fear, or pain, pain, and yeah, I feel like obviously, as we grow up, or as we mature, should I say, as we kind of do more mental thinking, etc., we can become better at kind of managing our emotions and not allow them to control us, and getting into kind of the relationship we have with our emotions. What's the healthiest relationship to have with our emotions? And what's not so good, an idea of the opposite, of course, of being very emotional is not really at all kind of just shutting them down because you're afraid of emotion, and maybe you've had backlash in the past of certain events or things that happened, and you've experienced certain emotions which you hate. I hated that feeling of fear, I hated that feeling of loss, and therefore I'm just gonna tighten up my emotions and not let them affect me. So that's another way of approach. So I'm sure we have people in our lives, and we identify with those kind of either or, especially at the beginning. And I don't know, to take a step back from emotions generally. I mean, there's a lot of way of people kind of viewing them, but I think a useful way of viewing emotions is they're almost kind of like your, kind of speaking practically here, they're almost like your senses, right? So, you're going out into the world, you're experiencing certain things, and those experiences elicit an emotional response, right? So let's say, when you're hanging out with your friends, or you are at a party or something like that, and you're feeling happy, that is like your, in essence, senses telling you that these are experiences you enjoy, and because you enjoy them, therefore you will feel happiness. That's your emotional response. And we use these senses, they're almost like a way of measuring. It sounds very kind of practical and harsh, but I'll get back into the more, lovey-dovey softy part. But if we think about it, I don't know, from a quite simplistic way of thinking, maybe a biological way of thinking, that's the purpose of, part purpose of our emotion. There's the metaphysical part of emotions, and then there's the kind of practical, biological, evolutionary part of emotions. And they're just, in essence, they are kind of like our sensory devices, and they tell us, what we like and what we want to repeat, because they give us a feeling of, certain emotions give us good feelings, maybe an ecstasy, or maybe even like dopamine hits, etc. So there's obviously the chemical part. And then, for example, the situations which obviously are dangerous, and therefore we feel fear, and that's the sense of saying, hey, danger, get out of here. And maybe pain, it's like, I don't want to feel this again, this is such a painful experience, aka, if you lost someone, the feeling of loss and pain and hurt is an emotional response to you losing someone, and and telling you, of course, one, how important that person was, and also how important that person was to you, and how it affects you. So yeah, I think viewing emotions in that way is quite a helpful way to really kind of, I don't know, but a more simpler way of thinking around emotions and the purpose behind them. And it's like, it's quite a liberating thought to think like, okay, so once you kind of understand them a bit better, then you're able to kind of address them a bit more, rather than kind of almost just these, a lot of people fear, see emotions as something to fear, or something kind of be damaging, almost like a double-edged sword. So I think once you've got the perspective of, kind of embracing emotions and seeing the need for them, because they really almost giving us the flavor to life, because without emotions we'll just be, in essence, robots, right? These dull beings who can't really have subjective views on certain things, like, I don't know, receiving a present might elicit a more emotional response, a positive emotional response from one person than the other, and therefore that kind of, in essence, tailors a part of who we are. And when it goes back to, the response of the video before about what defines us, pain is one of the biggest, emotions that we can experience. But generally, like how you experience emotion, how you, from certain things, obviously we all experience it uniquely, and that's like, it's a subjective thing, our emotions, to subject to specific situations, scenarios, objects, whatever, and that obviously makes us individuals, because we all have that kind of unique response, emotional response, and so that's why it's so important. And then, I don't know, going back to it, so obviously once we realise the importance of emotions and the reason why they exist, we can come to understand them a bit more and address them, and not to become the enemy, but actually something that we should be grateful for, and we should, really acknowledge. Because I'll address it from two perspectives. You have the emotional, highly emotional person, and they maybe experience so much emotion, and that was me. Like I, as a kid, was a highly emotional person, and I was governed by my emotions, and I made lots of judgments based on my emotions. And of course, it didn't allow me to see the world in a clearer way as I could have, and it made me, of course, then make certain judgments, and it affects your entire. It's like if you're, the way that you perceive the world, like almost the glasses that you're using, if they're warped in a certain way, you could really miss a lot of things. So it's so important. And for me as an emotional person, it took a lot of time, and I had this kind of almost a bit of epiphany at the age of like 17 or something, with something else unrelated, which I'll need to get into another video, because obviously that's something that's probably one of the most important parts of my life, which is, I think, why I am the way I am now, and why things changed drastically for me. But yeah, going back, segues, I love it. Going back to the emotion, becoming more controlling, not controlling, no, that's not the right word. Controlling, you don't want to control your emotions, you want to embrace them, and not let them control you, because maybe to control them is to, like, the idea of kind of like, I don't know, locking them away in a box, or trying to control how you, I won't, that's a bit too minutia. But yeah, I was on the quest to try and understand and acknowledge my emotions a lot more, and not let them control me, because they did govern how I did a lot of things. And the way that you do that is, I think, it's obviously way more complex than this, but I mean, simply speaking, it's just about acknowledging why you have those emotions in the first place. I think the fact about understanding them is a massive part of liberating yourself from them controlling you. Let's say, for example, fear, right? And how you respond to that, like the emotion of fear. Like we fear, obviously, dangerous situations, but we also have fear for kind of situations which challenge us, and there's a hurdle to overcome, and maybe a chance for self-improvement. Like, let's say when you're going for a job interview and you have that anxiety, maybe not full-on fear, maybe that's too strong a word, but let's say anxiety as an emotion. then your natural instinct, because of our natural instincts, is to go, right, I am feeling this anxiety or this fear, therefore I want to get as far away from this as possible. Okay? But rather than that be the end answer, if you can obviously just take a second to breathe in and just go, okay, what am I feeling here? Okay, I'm feeling anxiety, I'm feeling fear. Why am I feeling them? Well, because obviously I'm going for a job interview and it's stressful, and this job's going to be really important to me, and it could make or break this part of my life, etc. So there's a lot of pressure, and maybe friends are kind of riding on this, and family as well. So there's all these external pressures, and that's why it's such a fear-inducing experience for me. But then you have to, once you've taken that breath and you understand why you're feeling where you're feeling, you go, well, actually, okay, let's think about this. It tends to be the things that actually are most value, like of big value in my life, and like are the challenges, are the things I have anxiety towards. And it's almost like the way in which my senses are telling me I'm kind of on the right path here, because if I overcome this challenge, which is causing me this anxiety, not only is it going to help with my anxiety, but also it shows that I'm on the right path, I'm doing the right thing. Because if you're not in a life where you're not having these challenges and trying to overcome them and trying to improve yourself, and you're not exposing yourself to these things that are uncomfortable for you, then you're just going to stay still. You're going to be stagnant. You're going to basically hide in your room and not achieve what you want to achieve and become a better person. And so it's almost like a way of, even though it's a red light in terms of the way fear, it's actually a good thing. Like if you feel the fear or the anxiety, it's a way of telling yourself, yes, I'm actually doing the right thing here. Like your senses are telling you, actually this is something worth it, because it's something a bit scary, and it's something I'm not used to, but nothing in life that is worth it is easy. There's always going to be hard, and of course things that are hard have an illicit emotional response, like anxiety or being scared of it. So if you can go, like, actually the fact that I'm feeling the fear right now shows that I'm actually doing the right thing, so I need to push forward. So rather than go the opposite way of like running away, actually you go, when I feel fear, I think, I know I'm doing the right thing here, and I need to follow it through. That kind of fear, with those challenges, like life challenges, obviously then there's a complete different character of dangerous situations, like if you're near a cliff, edge of a cliff, or you're about to walk into a tiger's den and you're feeling the fear, well then that's a completely different thing. That's kind of life and death situations, you're putting yourself in mortal danger. We're talking about job interviews, or asking people out on dates, or standing up to your friend and telling them what's on your mind, even though it might damage them, etc. Stuff like that. Just more kind of social situations which we have to deal with day to day. So if you can really, tune yourself to that, then it's a really, really powerful. It's really, really powerful to be able to do that. And it's kind of something I've kind of had to got used to. But then also, I think sometimes, like, let's talk about when it comes to good emotions like happiness, etc. I think especially in day to day with our lives, we're so used to like schedules and routines, or just like mundane things of repetitiveness, and sometimes we don't think, sit back and think like, what do I really want, what are my priorities? You're just so busy kind of completing stuff and so busy all the time that you can't actually think about, actually, am I enjoying this, am I happy, etc, etc. So one thing that's really useful, and like we don't listen to our emotions enough, is when you do have those happy moments, you really recognize, oh, I feel happy, this feels so good. You let those emotions, the positive emotions, really come to the front. Don't be afraid of them or like try and bury them. Let them out, because you get that emotional high, and it's amazing. It's like the best parts in your life, when you feel those emotions. And then also listen to them, because of course, if you're feeling those periods of happiness, then you should think about trying to repeat them again. It's like, my sense is telling me here that this is actually something I really enjoy, so let me do it again. I'll give an example as, especially with young people these days, you know, like people my age, stuff like that, you know, like will love like clubbing or like going out to drink and stuff like that, you know, and that's, you know, it can be good fun at times, but sometimes of course we do it on a repetitive basis, or there's the peer pressure as well. Sometimes you kind of trick yourself into a sense of like you're actually enjoying it but you're not, and then you suddenly, you know, go around some of your close friends' house, like 3 of you watching a movie, you know, and having a takeaway pizza, and you really enjoy that, and it's something so simple. It's not like a party or anything like that, it's so simple, but you just like the happiest you felt in ages. It just feels so wholesome. If that's the case, listen to your emotion and go, oh, maybe I should repeat this. And if you listen to your emotions more like that, especially with the happiness thing, then you'll actually find that life becomes so much better, and you're prioritizing things and you feel good inside, and you're not like thinking too hard about everything, and it just feels more natural. Because I think so many times, like people, I've seen like friends come away from experience, they go, oh, that was like so good, like I just really just enjoyed that very chill experience with my friends. And I'm like, well, why don't you do that more often? Why do you not make more time for that? If that's something you've enjoyed more than anything else in the last couple of months, and you've done so many things, you've been traveling or you've been to parties, etc., and that was the moment you really enjoyed the most, why do you not try and increase that? It's like, oh, you know, well, because it's hard to organise things, or friends aren't around as much, etc. Or I don't know, just you know, I just feel the need or the pressure to kind of do the partying all the time. It's like, well, that's not really a way to live. Like, it's not like don't get rid of the partying, but make sure you're prioritising what you really want, not just what it should be expected of you. You know, not just doing things repetitively because that's the social norm. Do what makes you happy. Doesn't mean you don't have to do the other stuff at the same time. Maybe you still do the partying and the drinking and stuff like that, etc. But you know, maybe it's not as much, and you get more balance. That's just healthier. So yeah, and then I said the last big point as well is relationships, because obviously that's, you know, something really important for everyone. Relationships, and then having, you know, a healthy view of emotion, having a relationship with emotion of acceptance and respect for your emotions. Because definitely in relationships it's really, really important. I mean, right from the beginning of when you're going out on dates at the beginning, of course, if you allow fear to take over, then obviously it cannot really end well for you. I mean, I think generally, like, when it comes to dating, people like confidence. You know, it's a very attractive quality in a man or a woman, however you're dating. And you know, if you have like a certain level of confidence, it's a really attractive quality, and you know, it can really do big for your first couple of dates. And of course, if you are anxious and fearful, then you're not really showing that person who you really are. And sometimes, unfortunately, people don't have the time to kind of wait around. Like, there are those great people who do, but they won't wait around till you kind of feel more at ease. It's just the nature of dating, isn't it? You know, the nature of rejection. So, and then obviously in relationships as well, like, emotions are again really important. Of course, I think guys struggle with emotions more than girls. It's either like, you know, guys are too shut off and girls are too emotional. Like, that's just kind of, I don't know, the general correlation. I mean, obviously, definitely there is massive divergences in that. I mean, I've spoken from experience in the past, but that's obviously general the problem. And so what you have is, obviously, it's very hard to find people on an same emotional level at you, whether someone's emotionally mature or immature. And of course, it can cause a lot of problems if it's not kind of addressed in the proper way, and it causes a lot of arguments, and you can't really understand each other. And of course, I think if you're emotionally mature, then you have the ability to actually create a strong emotional bond with someone because you are open, you know. But if someone is emotionally closed, especially if two people are emotionally closed, it's very hard to form a bond, strong bond and trust, which is massive in relationships. I think I'm going to do another video on trust in relationships and why it's so important. But of course, if your partner isn't emotionally available, if you aren't emotionally available for your partner, you're going to really find it hard. You're going to really struggle in a relationship. Is this a bit too loud? So yeah, like it plays a big part, and maybe it's a separate video about emotions in mean, Matt, like going to the trust bit in relationships as well. Oh my god, so many segues and so many things. I need to just do like 2-hour ramble and just cover all the segues, and I've got nothing left to do. But yeah, with relationships, with the emotions, it's really important, and of course, especially if you're highly emotional and the other person's not, you find it really hard to actually express yourself, and sometimes you even question about your, whether you should be as emotional, and then also you feel kind of almost deprived from the other person, that they're not really sharing who they are, and they don't trust you. So it's a really hard balance, and it's really important for relationships, and like why you should try and work as much as possible on having a good relationship with your emotions, because then you can try and do the best in terms of your relationships, and like if a relationship fails, then you can just go, well, I did everything on my part, I did my very best, and it just, if you have that emotional kind of, I don't know, sense of more harmony with your emotions, then your relationships will be so much better. Not just romantic, but family, friends, etc. It's fundamental. I was hoping this was going to be like a 10-minute video, but it turned into more, as always. So I'm going to end it here, even though I could carry on. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know if you have any thoughts on it in the comments below. I'll see you guys later, and I hope you have a beautiful ride. That was lame. I need to think of better. I still haven't thought about a better outro, and probably thinking, why is he still talking? He just did his outro. I mean, it's a beautiful ride. I don't know, maybe something simple as like have a beautiful day. Have beautifuls? Nah. Have a beautiful one. Have a beautiful one. That's good. I'll do that. Have a beautiful one.